I just completed the CRO course certification from heatmap.com and I wish I took it sooner. It's free, packed with gold, and led by Dylan Under, who used to run one of the biggest CRO agencies in the world, so the guy knows his stuff. So if you run a Shopify or e-com brand and you care about optimizing your revenue per visitor, then this video will save you hours of guesswork. I'm going to break down the most actionable lessons from the course, stuff you can apply today to make your website more profitable. Because here's the thing, heat maps, click rates, scroll depth, they are all helpful, but they don't actually show you what's driving revenue. So in this video, we'll see why your FAQ is a goldmine, when sticky add to cart buttons actually hurt conversions, why your footer is more valuable than you may think, and how to use revenue per session and revenue per click to prioritize what to fix, and also a bunch of other tips. So if you're still optimizing based on click or gut feeling, then keep watching to see what 8 and 9 figure Shopify brands do instead. The biggest mindset shift I had with this course is that heatmap.com, unlike Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity, is tracking revenue per session and revenue per click. And that makes a big difference because so far for all of my clients, I have always been focusing on clicks when analyzing their website, which means that, for example, if we would like add Instagram-like highlights, with the collection pages, I would look at the one getting the most click and I would guess this is obviously the one that people are the most interested in, and I would prioritize based on the clicks. But, and Dylan make a fair point in his training, it is that it is not because an element gets more clicks that it's driving more revenue. For example, your social icons may get a lot of clicks, but those people are bouncing from your website and they're not buying. So those elements generate clicks, but don't actually generate sales. And what we want to optimize for is elements that are actually driving sales. And that's what we're going to see right after. But we've got revenue per session and revenue per click. And the difference is very slight, but revenue per session is the total revenue generated on a certain element divided by all the sessions. And revenue per click is total revenue generated on a certain element divided by the number of click, just like the name says. And we want to use the two for different things. Revenue per session, you want to compare two elements that are the same. For example, two product cards, two collections, things that are related to each other. Revenue per click is meant to compare two things that have nothing to do with each other. For example, your call to action with filters or your top bar, different things. This helps you prioritize what actually brings in money, not just what looks pretty or get clicks. This is the most interesting thing about heatmap.com. You're probably aware that people read in a Z shape, right? Like they start at the top left, then go to the right, then go down to the left, and then move to the right. And so we always want to prioritize elements based on how much revenue they are bringing to the company with this shape, right? And the thing is, you may be doing this based on the revenue that each product is bringing to your brand, right? But the thing you don't know is that people actually clicking on one of those cards is potentially buying other products after this one. And so you don't know exactly how much each click on each of those product cards is actually generating for your company. But when you have heatmap.com and you can compare exactly all the product cards, you can see how much revenue per visitor they're bringing, how much, what's the conversion rate, and all of those information gives you the possibility to actually reorganize the collection page. And you can also do this for all the other elements on your website. It can be the navigation, the FAQ, and this is tremendously powerful. Now let's talk about FAQs. FAQs are super important because that's where users go when they're not finding what they're looking for on your website. And so if you have some FAQ that are underperforming, you can just get rid of them. If people don't click on those, it means that they are not very interesting to them. And then if you have, for example, an FAQ that gets a lot of clicks but don't get much revenue, then maybe you should rephrase it or get rid of it completely, because it is not actually driving revenue. Then if you have one that on the flip side get less clicks but drives a lot of revenue, then you want to reorganize the order of your FAQ based on the revenue generated per FAQ. This is how you can turn your FAQ into a revenue engine. Another thing that is very interesting in this course is that, as Dylan says, your best CTA equal your best piece of content. And for example, if you look at your website and you scroll down through your homepage, and you will see that one specific CTA has a really high revenue per click compared to other elements on the page, it means that the related piece of content to this CTA is actually more relevant and speaks more to your audience compared to other elements on your website. And so what you want to do is expand the section across the website, or you want to move this section higher on the page. It can be on your product page, homepage, or collection page. But what's really interesting here is really to think that any CTA has always something linked to it. And so you can always compare the revenue per click you get on each element and see which one is actually driving revenue for your brand. We all obsess over hero section and product page above the fold, but here is what Dylan's course taught me to look at instead. The first thing that is often overlooked, especially if you use scroll maps, is the footer, because as you may know, the more you scroll through a page, the less people you have at the bottom. And so very often we think that the footer doesn't really matter. But just like Dylan said, if you look at your footer and you look at the revenue per click of each element, you may realize that there are big discrepancies and that some of the links are actually either not clicked or are either not bringing any revenue. So the ones that are not bringing any revenue, you should get rid of those, and then you should reorganize based on how much revenue they're bringing. Again, putting at the top the links that are bringing the most revenue. Most of the time, those are going to be the ones linked to your collection page or your product page. The second thing is about sticky add to cart. Do not assume that it's driving more conversions. What you want to do instead is look at its revenue per click and compare it with your main call to action. And if it's lower, you may want to remove it, especially for higher ticket items. Just like Dylan said during the training, sticky add to carts are usually good for lower ticket items. Last thing here, audit what gets ignored. If people can click on an element but are not clicking, then you are wasting attention. So you want to audit things like quantity selectors, zoom buttons, chevron, filters, or even hyperlinks, and everything that is either not being clicked or is being clicked but it's not driving revenue, then consider removing those. Of course, not directly, but always with A/B test, because sometimes by removing just one thing, you can see jump in conversion rate. It's actually something that I made a video about a few weeks ago, where for a brand that I work with, we removed the zoom icon on the product page and we saw a jump in conversion rate. So you may want to remove those elements that are not being clicked or that are not driving any revenue. This course helped me see my client's website differently and with a fresh new perspective. The key takeaway is really to use heatmap.com to prioritize by revenue and not just clicks. That's how you stop guessing and start growing. I'll drop the link to the course and also to a summary article. It's 100% free, and honestly, every brand founder should go through it. So if you found this video useful, please drop a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comment if you would like me to review any other CRO training or tools in the future. Heatmap.com really is a smarter way to optimize your store, so give it a try.